guys, what's up? I know I didn't make a video last week doing the Spoils of War, which was episode 4 of this season of Game of Thrones, and it was a super good episode. The problem was my camera was just being super shitty, so I recorded it a different way and I just have to finish editing it. But that's the only reason why episode 4 hasn't gone up. But now we have episode 5, Eastwatch. As far as like a lot of things happening, a lot of things did happen, but it's things that are like happening to set up for future things that are going to happen. It was definitely one of those episodes, which in like no way does that make it a bad episode. Like I'm not saying just because there wasn't a dragon battle that it wasn't a good episode, but it was. If you were like expecting, you know, Game of Thrones to go 1000% again, it's not that this week. But there's a lot of little tiny things which definitely makes up for it. We pick up right where we left off, the Field of Fire, with Bronn coming up saving Jaime's life after he tried killing Daenerys. Which, I don't know why he tried to do that. Like, I understand why Jaime would try to end the war right there, but trying to kill Daenerys with a spear while Drogon is literally right next to her, not the brightest thing. Like, not your brightest play, Jaime. There was some funny dialogue with Bronn. Bronn, again, he was my MVP of the last episode, and he does some stuff this episode. He's not the MVP, but he's got some hilarious lines.
You're fucked.
What do you mean we're fucked?
No, I do not. Dragons are where our partnership ends.
And we have some shots of Tyrion just walking through the battle, which, if we see the battle, like, it was just a wash. Like, there was no actual fighting. The Dothraki slayed everybody, and then Drogon burnt everybody to ashes, so it was pretty much just a punishment of the Lannister army. We could clearly see that Tyrion is super he's got some conflicting views at this point, because he hates war, he hates the outcomes of war, but he's a hand to a queen that's trying to take over a kingdom. So he's gonna have to get used to seeing that. Daenerys is basically letting loose at this point. She's been restrained throughout most of the beginning of this season, trying to not be the mad queen that Cersei is, trying to show that she's like the nice one. But she's had it up to this point, so she basically just says,
"Bend the knee and join me. Together, we will leave the world a better place than we found it. Or refuse. And die."
Everybody basically bends the knee as soon as Drogon roars, except fucking Randall Tarley, which, go you for being loyal. You weren't loyal to the Queen of Thorns an episode ago, but you're loyal to Cersei. Beats me. So House Tarley actually loses 2 members. It loses Dickon. It loses Randall Tarley, so making Sam the heir to the Tarley. I mean, he's been disowned, but he's basically the head of the house at this point. Heading over to King's Landing, we see Jaime telling Cersei what happened.
This isn't a war we can win.
We also see Jaime telling Cersei that Olenna was actually the one to kill Joffrey, and we see it in her face right away. She's just like, fuck, I should have killed her harder. Heading over back to Dragonstone, we see an epic shot of Dany and Drogon flying towards Jon. Drogon actually lands on top of the mountaintop where Jon was overlooking them flying in, and it was the sweetest How to Train Your Dragon moment, and if you can't tell, I love that movie. I love How to Train Your Dragon, and it was so perfect because they even did like the whole petting, like he reached out his hand and like Drogon let him pet him and stuff. Clearly Drogon can pick up on the fact that Jon is in fact, spoilers if you guys don't know, I don't know where you've been, but Jon is in fact a Targaryen, and Drogon can clearly see that. Also in this scene, Jorah comes home. He returns to Dany. He's all well and healed now. Anyways, we head over to Winterfell where Bran is warging into an entire, like, I don't know if they're called pack or whatever, of ravens. Flock. An entire flock of ravens, and he's heading over to, like, Eastwatch, and he sees the Night King's army, and he sees the Night King, and as soon as the Night King notices him, like, it disperses. Bran then decides to send out ravens, letting everybody know that the army is coming towards Eastwatch, and they're almost there. So this takes us over to Old Town, where, honestly, the Maesters just piss me off. They believe that it's like a plot by Dany to, like, lure the southern armies up to the north to guard the wall from the White Walkers. It's not, and Sam yells at them telling them that it's not, and Sam's honestly getting slightly pissed at this point, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But heading back to Dragonstone, Tyrion actually has his first drink of this entire season. Varys joins him and they have, like, you know, just banter back and forth, and Varys has the message for Jon that Bran sent him, and then Tyrion asks him, he's like,
Who's that for?
Jon Snow.
Did you read it?
It's a sealed scroll for the king in the north.
What's it say?
Nothing good.
At least now Jon knows that his siblings are alive, because the letter did include that Bran is obviously home and that Arya is back home, and he thought both of them were dead. I thought he knew that Bran was alive. I don't know why. I feel like Theon would have told him that. But yeah, and this is where the episode might divide some people. It's where they create a plan to bring a White Walker from the north all the way down to King's Landing to show Cersei, so Cersei believes that the Army of the Dead is real. They had done something like this a couple seasons ago where they sent over a hand of a White Walker. By the time it got to King's Landing, it was like ash, I think, or it was just dead, it was no longer alive. But so this time they're going to bring an actual White over to King's Landing into the Westeros and hopefully show Cersei. But for this to like actually work, Cersei's got to agree to even meet them. So Tyrion comes up with a brilliant plan to sneak himself into King's Landing so he can talk to Jaime, and Sir Davos, you know, he's a smuggler, so he can send him over there. Which I find was cool because we also get an introduction of another character thanks to that. So yeah, Jorah is now going north with Jon, which is pretty cool to see those two team up because Jon did, you know, have a special relationship with Jorah's dad, and he actually has Jorah's dad's sword. So we'll see how that goes. And clearly Dany is upset. Like, she's sad to see both of them go. Not just Jorah, but she's clearly visibly upset to see Jon.
I haven't given you permission to leave.
With respect, Your Grace, I don't need your permission.
We head over to Winterfell for like the really quick scene between Arya and Sansa, and we could tell that these sisters, while they're happy to see each other last episode, or last episode was when she came home, they're clearly still at odds. They're clearly still their season 1. They're clearly, sorry cat, they're clearly still like their season 1 like versions of themselves when it comes to each other, and they didn't like each other. They had a weird relationship back then, and they have a weird relationship now. Arya basically just thinks that Sansa is trying to take the throne from like the King of the North throne from Jon, and Sansa's not helping her case.
You're thinking it right now. You don't want to be. But the thought just won't go away.
As we move over to King's Landing, where Bronn does set up the meeting of the Lannister brothers, which is pretty cool. I miss seeing these two together. I like their chemistry. I've always enjoyed seeing the Jaime and Tyrion scenes, from like the jailhouse scenes to the very like first episode when Tyrion was first introduced and when Jaime was first introduced. We see yet again like another brilliant performance by Peter Dinklage. I very much believe if any other person had played the role of Tyrion, we wouldn't love him as much as we do nowadays. Peter Dinklage does a great job with every single line that he's given.
Did you think I wanted to be born this way? Did you think I chose? What do you want?
Another thing we get in this visit to King's Landing is Davos goes to the Flea Bottom and he finds Gendry. So Gendry's not rowing, which even Davos said it himself, which was a great line, by the way.
Thought you might still be rowing.
We head over back to Dragonstone, and Gendry and Jon meet, and it's like an instant bromance. Like, their fathers were best friends. We should be best friends. So it was cool seeing those two interact, and I can't wait to see what Baratheon and Stark keep doing when, like, moving forward.
I grew up on stories about them. And all I ever knew is that they fought together and won.
But yeah, Dany and Jon actually part ways this episode, and it was kind of sad seeing them part ways. He goes like,
"If I don't return, at least you won't have to deal with the king in the north anymore."
I've grown used to him.
Then we head over to Old Town for the most frustrating scene in Game of Thrones history. Gilly and Sam are just reading their books, and Sam's transcribing it, and Gilly does have some funny lines. Like, she goes like,
"Guess how many windows are in the Great Sept of Baelor?"
None anymore.
That's true.
She follows it up by asking Sam what the word annulment means, and she says that this maester that she's reading this book of did an annulment for Prince Rhaegar, and if you don't know who Prince Rhaegar is, he's Daenerys' older brother. Not the one that got the golden crown, but the one that died before that Robert Baratheon killed. He was supposed to be king after his father, everybody loved him, blah blah blah. But yeah, apparently Rhaegar had an annulment and a secret wedding in Dorne. So he wasn't married to the Martell girl anymore. She was married to somebody else, and if you don't know who that is at this point, it's literally spelled out for you, R plus L equals J. So Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark equals Jon Targaryen. So Jon is actually the heir to the Iron Throne. It's not Daenerys, it's not nobody else, it's Jon. Whether he'll take it, we won't know, but it's legally now known that Jon is in fact the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, or the heir of the Seven Kingdoms. He's not going to take it. He does not want that job. He hates his job right now. We head over back to Winterfell, and Arya is doing her Arya stuff, and she's spying on Littlefinger, but the thing with Littlefinger is she has not dealt with somebody as smart as Littlefinger I think, ever. The thing with Littlefinger is he's playing the sisters against each other at this point. He knows that if Arya and Sansa and Bran and Jon all get together, there's no way that he could have Sansa to himself. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna divide and conquer. You know, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Super slyly leads Arya to find a scroll that he had gotten the maester to give him earlier on, and she saw him giving giving the scroll to Littlefinger. And the scroll was actually the message that Sansa wrote way back in, I think, season 1 or 2 after the beheading of Ned Stark. That was just like, you know, Robb, bend the knee to Joffrey, Joffrey is our true king. Clearly, it's just gonna fuel the Sansa versus Arya thing that's going on right now. And once Arya reads that, she leaves Littlefinger's room, and Littlefinger's just creepily staring at her from the corner. So, as much as I hate the man, the guy plays the game well, and I can't wait for his inevitable demise at this point. Also, one thing I want to point out real quick is people are just teleporting across this continent at this point. It used to take people seasons, legit seasons, to get from point A to point B. Jon got to Eastwatch in literally 2 scene transitions. 2 scene transitions, he was there. But now we get to see Eastwatch by the Sea, which is where the Avengers basically assemble. We got the All-Star team come together. We got the Brotherhood Without Banners, you know, Varric, the Hound, we got Jorah, we got Gendry, we got Tormund, and we've got Jon Snow. They all hate each other, which is pretty great to see. Like, none of these have any reasons to be working together. And they all know that. They all know that we don't like each other, but we're on the same side, and Jon said it best.
We're all on the same side. How can we be?
We're all breathing.
And then they head out beyond the wall, and that's where the episode ends. So next episode might actually be my new favorite, like, beyond the wall episode, because winter is finally here. We get to see Jon Snow and the band of good guys fighting against the White Walkers, trying to capture one, and it just looks beyond epic. My MVP of this episode, though, I did this for my episode 4 review, and I'm gonna keep doing it for all the other ones, but my MVP of this episode is definitely poor Gilly, because she just basically told us who the heir of the Iron Throne is, and it was like just a little tiny detail, and basically forgotten in 2 seconds. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Let me know if you think it's just a filler, if you didn't really pay much attention to it. And let me know what you think of R plus L equals J being, like, I mean, it's confirmed, but now it's, like, legally confirmed. So, yeah. Guys, give this video a big thumbs up. Let me know what you're most looking forward to, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.